personal debt. Debt should be a scary thing. Here's us, nice little boat going along, and debt is this huge tidal ready to sink us. And that's what we need to think of debt as. It's not some fun game, but it's ruining us and destroying us financially. In fact, 43% of all American families spend more than they earn each year. They spend about 10% more. So for every dollar they earn, they spend $1.10. We need to stop doing that. So what is credit or debt? It's this agreement between a borrower and the lender, and they say, hey, I'll lend you this money if you pay this back, usually with a certain time, and then with interest. And the key term is interest. You always have to pay more than what you received. And so if I give you $10,000, you're going to have to pay me back $14,000 or $15,000. And so if we're borrowing, we're losing out on money. It's like we're burning it. We're throwing it out the window. We're ripping it to shreds because we're wasting an extra $5,000 by giving it to the lender instead of what we could use if we would have just saved and paid cash. And so there are two kinds of people. It's said those who pay interest and those who understand interest. Hopefully we can move to understanding interest instead of paying interest. So let me ask you guys, why do you go into debt? What are some reasons why you or people you know, I always give my students an out, not you guys, but somebody you know, why do other people go into debt? What do you think? Okay, we don't have patience, we want things now. It's easy. Yeah, we want nice things, we think we deserve them. Possibly an emergency. We want to compete with our neighbors and have a certain lifestyle. Possibly medical bills or things that need to happen. So I put down here, just common things. If we are in debt or going in debt, instead of paying it off and we go out to eat to buy that burger, hopefully no one's going to buy that burger up there. That's pretty large and disgusting. But to go out to eat, then we are, instead, that money that we are spending on going out to eat or to vacation or to do anything that could be going to paying off our debt, we're saying, in essence, if you flip it around, we're willing to borrow money to go out to eat. I'll take out a loan to go on a vacation. I'll take out a loan to buy these clothes. And if you say, no, I wouldn't take out a loan to do that, it's effectively doing that if you're not putting that money towards those things to get out of debt. And so we need to start thinking about, remember, with tracking and savings and making it automatic, as we track our expenses, we see some of these spending leaks, and we can plug some of those. And some of these spending leaks are going out to eat, spending too much on gas, driving around too much, maybe too much on our cell phone bill or cable bill. There's lots of different ways that we are spending extra money, that if we could curtail some of those and shrink some of those and plug some of those spending leaks and redirect it to our debt to get out of debt, especially consumer debt, which we'll talk about, then we will be saving hundreds of dollars and thousands of dollars in interest that right now we're just giving to the lender. So whether we need furniture or eating out is easier, or everything I have is needs, I don't have any wants, or we want too many things, or you think you deserve the nice car and vacation, it's costing you a lot of money. And so you need to be able to plan ahead for that. So George Clayson said, that which each of us calls our quote unquote necessary expenses will always grow to equal our income unless we test to the contrary. In other words, whatever we make, sometimes we say, if I could just get a bonus or get a raise, and if I could just make an extra $200 or $300 a month, then I could accomplish my goals, or then I could save for this, then I could pay off debt. But then what happens is we get our tax refund or our bonus or our increase in pay, and we don't do those things, and we're like, whoa, I don't know where the money goes because all my money's still gone. I'm still living paycheck to paycheck, and yet I'm making $300 more a month. That's because our expenses fill our income unless we make a plan and tell our money where to go. And so that's the benefit of tracking and having a spending plan. We need to protest for all these expenses that we want. So here's some top causes of debt. The most common are credit card, auto loans, and student loans, but there's other things that we talked about: medical expenses, divorce, etc. Here's some top 10 ways Americans waste money. You can see the number one at the bottom is going out to eat or food away from home. It's easier and convenient, but it's also usually less healthy, costs a lot more money, and a lot of our money is leaving our pockets by going out to eat. I'm not saying we can't do any of these things, but we want to conscientiously and purposefully think about where our money is going and make decisions to accomplish our goals. And if your goal is go out to eat all the time and not have money for other things, that's fine. But if it's not, and you have other goals, and you need to look in the mirror and say, I'm an adult, I need to be a little more rational and choose, I want money to go towards these goals and stop going deeper and deeper in debt while I just go out to eat all the time and buy my fancy car, etc. And so we need to kind of be a little mindful and think about where our money's going. So when is it okay to go into debt? What do you guys think? Robert Hales said, debt incurred for education, a modest home, or a basic automobile. Notice modest home and basic automobile may be necessary to provide for a family. Obviously, it'd be better if we could pay cash for the car or didn't go in debt with education, etc. But for you guys, Isabel says a home. When is it okay to go into debt? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with Robert, or are there other things you think it's okay besides a home, education? I don't think it's okay, in my mind, for an automobile. If you can't afford, especially an expensive one, save up and pay cash for it. If you can't pay cash, then buy a $1,500 car. But that's my viewpoint. Auto repair. Okay, we'll talk about that. So that's an emergency, you're saying, so it's okay to go into debt for an emergency. The number one reason to have an emergency fund is to break the cycle of debt and to not have to go into debt for emergencies. So building up, one of your goals should be having an emergency fund for those types of things. Home and education. Okay. What about mortgage debt? Gordon B. Hinckley says, I recognize that it may be necessary to borrow for a home, of course, but let us buy a home that we can afford and thus ease the payments which will constantly hang over our heads without mercy, remember that wave, or respite for as long as 30 years, and often longer than that because people keep refinancing back to a 30-year mortgage. The issue is we get into homes as well as cars and automobiles that are too expensive for our income. And so then we become what's called house poor or car poor. All our extra money, we can't do other things because we're paying so much money towards our car or towards our home. And so if we're house poor, if we want to accomplish other things, have some vacations, do some other goals, then buying a modest home and a modest car are key. Two large purchases are key to allowing us to accomplish our other goals. Consumer loan facts, this would be credit cards, personal loans, auto loans, etc. It encourages consumption instead of saving. Rather than saving for the future, they want spending now. It is very expensive. You want to earn interest and not pay it, and it's usually